Welcome, my friends. We have hit a milestone here, episode 104, which marks 2 years of doing this weekly. I'm pretty sure I've hit every week. There might have been a week or two where I might have skipped, but we have officially hit 2 years with this episode. This is 104 episodes of Model Railroad Talk, and we are excited today to have Scott from Scott's Trains on, and Benjamin is back with us to help us kind of celebrate. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a little bit longer of a pod or an episode, and we just kind of chit chat. Yeah, we have some questions, a few questions we ask back and forth, but a lot of it is just us chit chatting about trains. This one, so if that's your kind of thing, stick around because you know what, we're gonna get the show on the tracks. Welcome to this special episode. This episode of 104 marks the 2-year mark of this podcast. Thinking back, looking back on it, I cannot believe I've made it this long. To be honest with you, there were times that I thought, well, I've done enough. There's really not much more I can do. And then you find folks listening, sending in your emails and contacting me in different forms kept me going. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. In some aspects it's going to be the same. We have two special guests on this episode. The first, that's where it's going to be the same. The rest of it is going to be a little bit different, as in, yeah, I've got a few questions for the guests. They've got some for me, but then it's going to be kind of just us three just kind of talking about trains, just a little bit different for this episode. So to start out, we've got Scott with Scott's Trains with us, and we've got Benjamin back on, which you heard a few episodes ago from Benjamin Trains on YouTube. So Scott and Benjamin, thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be back, Gary. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys back on here. I know Benjamin and I have been talking. I think you reached out, or we started talking at close to the beginning of this podcast. And Scott, you and I have been in contact for, I think probably coming up close to a year, as
probably
far as me
somewhere in
purchasing stuff from you, and then
probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
Podcast. But so I guess let's kind of get into some of these questions. Then we can, not that we're in a hurry, but let's just kind of jump and take our time with these questions. So my first question is for Scott. What have you been up to for modeling since you were on last? Anything fun?
Yeah, since the last time I was on, well, I'll go back a little bit. I think over the summer I was wrapped into like making pipe loads and stuff like that. So doing pipe loads for flat cars and gondolas. I got really wrapped into that and went really hard in that. So as soon as I kind of get tired of doing that, to avoid the burnout of the model railroading experience, I switch up a little bit. So I think right around, I want to say around Thanksgiving, I started building Proto 2000 kits that I'd been collecting since, probably over the summer when I started buying them again at train shows. I buy a whole bunch of them and I build them and then I sell them and then I keep looking for them. So I've got a guy in Illinois right now, my buddy. He's buying them as he's seeing them. He actually contacted me today and said he found me 9 covered hopper kits.
Oh, nice.
So he's got close to 100 of them for me so far that he's collected, and hopefully he'll drop those off soon so I can start building those. But I've got like 65 to 70 of them down in the basement that I've already assembled since Thanksgiving. So I kind of started to get, I wouldn't say I got burned down on that, but I was like, okay, I need to start doing something different because I've got way too many of these right now. But in the meantime, I've got another 100, 125 already sitting in the basement ready to build. Plus I got my buddy Greg in Illinois that's going to be meeting up with me soon to drop off another 100 of them. So I'll have plenty to do when I get busy when I'm ready to get busy doing that again. But in the meantime, since I stopped doing those kits, within the past couple of weeks, I started painting buildings. So I
Hmm.
picked up some buildings from a collection that need to be rehabbed,
Hmm.
uh, and I've been working on those. So I spent 4 or 5 hours at the train club last Friday, and I spent about 4 hours last night painting that. So it started out a really bright fluorescent red that you almost needed sunglasses to look at the building. So I completely bug bombed it and painted it like a nice dark tan color. And then I started after that. I started going on the windows. So I got all the windows done last night, and then I started painting the fascia on the front
Hmm.
a different color, and then I started painting some of the doors. So I've already got a guy at the train club that wants to buy it when I'm done. So,
There you go.
but it's just something that I enjoy. I mean, I can't go to the train club on a Friday night and just sit there and not do anything.
Right.
Uh, so I've always got to be doing something while I'm there, so that at the end of the night I've got something to show for my time. And I've been getting stuff ready. I've purchased. Oh my gosh, I guess since the last time I was on, I went to Timonium Train Show in Maryland. First time I ever went and did that. I was there. Gosh, I got there on Thursday night and was there all day Friday, all day Saturday, and completely filled up the car. Where I filled up like I think 32 boxes full of
Wow.
trains, and then I had two of my giant IKEA bags were on the front seat because I didn't have any place to put those trains. so, so
Nice.
yeah, I overdid a little bit, but it was well worth it. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of neat people, walking around that train show.
Hmm.
Um, I felt really bad after the guys left, but they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" They knew exactly who I was, my name, and everything.
Hmm.
And it didn't dawn on me until after I'd walked away from them who they were. And then I met another guy. He came up to me. He's like, we're looking forward to seeing you in the fall. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna do our show down in West Virginia. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I just my I've got I got I got memory issues sometimes with faces, and I know people
Right.
from the Air Force. I know people from my hometown and school. I know people from work. I work at car dealerships. I know people from trade shows, and it's like seeing somebody and remembering their names. It's not
Hmm.
good. But yeah,
Wow.
so I've done a few train shows since we last talked, and picked up a lot of neat inventory, a lot of neat stuff, a lot of kits and stuff. Um, and I've been getting stuff ready for my train shows. We've got another train show coming up next weekend, and then another one 2 weeks after that, and then another one 2 weeks after that. So we're pretty busy with that, and I'm getting stuff ready and getting stuff priced. Got engines, I got to test out and make sure they run before I take them to the train show, and
Right. All that good stuff.
kits to go through, and yeah, to make sure everything's ready to go, and then yeah, just looking forward to that. So when train season kicks off, train show season kicks off in the spring typically.
Mm.
I stay pretty busy, and then when the sun's out and the grass starts to turn green, then I've got to do yard work. So
Yeah.
it's
Right.
it's always something, but
Yep.
uh, it's
It
it's
is.
it's a lot of fun doing train shows and seeing people and buying trains for sure. I'm going tomorrow to buy trains, so I'm looking forward to that. And then we've got a bonus day at the train club tomorrow, so we get to play with trains in the afternoon.
Hmm.
So we do that about once a month where we get together on a Sunday, and because there's certain people that are members of the club that can't come up on a Friday night because they work on Fridays.
Sure.
So we try to do a Sunday, where people can still get together and get up there to the club. So looking forward
That's
to that.
cool.
So yeah, I've been busy since the last time we talked.
It sounds like it. It
Yeah.
sounds
Yep.
like it.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to move on to Benjamin. You were on here recently. Any updates on your layout? I know that you've added to your fleet that you're excited about, but any you can tell us about that, but any other updates as far or anything you've gotten done since the last time you were on?
Uh, since the last time I've been on, like I had stated in the last previous episode that I was on, I had finished the last module that I had told you about, and we had
Yep.
completed the complete run of the entire module sections. Since then, I have ballasted half of that section already, put a little bit of scenery down, just kind of taking it easy now since then, get it ready for the spring train show that's coming up here in about less than 4 weeks now.
Right.
Um, and plus with the new caboose that I had just gotten from Hiawatha Hobbies, big shout out to them. Speedy service, everything else. I appreciate them for
Mhm.
getting that real quick. But other than that, no, just been working on the town here. Got the roads done, which actually that's a technique that I'd like to bring up to you one of these days to show you how I went. Did this was a different approach.
Sure. That's
But
cool.
other than that, no, I've just been kind of just taking it easy, getting it just kind of here and there, not get burned out on it.
Right. I know from recently going over to the Lincoln area train show, even though it wasn't my show, my booth kind of thing, but just getting prepped to help Eric or go help him with the show. Just my little bit of prep on my side, it getting ready for show. And this is, even for you getting ready to take your layout there, but like Scott, you getting ready for your shows for resale and sell and or purchase and sell. Uh, it's I've always been on the buying side of the aisle, you know what I mean? And
I'll agree
like
with that one.
yeah, and even I've started the preparations for the train show I'm going to be at just to try out for the podcast, and just the prep work alone, you don't realize how much there really is until it gets down to the nitty-gritty of it, the last
Correct.
minute or so.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the layout here. I mean, I did a test run a couple days ago just to see how quick it would take me to set up the entire layout
Mhm.
just from ground up. And it took me close to about 40 to 45 minutes just to get all the modules together,
Right, and
wired
that
and
is
everything else.
yeah, and that doesn't include setting up structures and stuff because you're surely going to want to take them off. You're not going to want to transport it with them on.
Oh, yeah, and then the trees and all that too as well, taking those off because I don't have those permanently in either. But just the amount of work that goes in, just set up just with the legs, getting the wires together, and then you got to test everything prior to the show starting to make sure it actually works correctly without having any
Right.
issues.
Yep. Get
Hmm.
there and show up and wah wah wah. You don't
and,
want that.
and that's and that's where I'm running into is just a few flaws that are here and there, like the bridge scene. I had to actually cut into the rails itself to actually catch a gap because actually the track was binding on the bridge itself.
Oh, okay.
So I had to actually put in rail joiners and actually create a little gap to allow for contraction and expansion and contraction.
Hmm. Yeah, that I recently went through that with my swing gate and my lift gate. So yeah, it's definitely that the temperatures do make a difference.
It does. I'll admit it.
All right. So this question is actually for the both of you, and I think Scott will have you start first.
Okay.
Anything interesting that you have seen or experienced in the hobby recently?
Hmm. Wow. Um.
Anything?
Boy, I don't know. That's a good question. Um. I mean, pricing is really disappointing on stuff. You see new stuff
Right.
come out, and the price just keeps going up and up
Oh,
and up on
yeah.
stuff. So I mean, it's good to get out to a train show. I mean, if you're just buying from a hobby shop, or I mean, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
Um, you might see the same thing in a train show, and it might be a little bit cheaper. So I
Right.
know I went to a local hobby shop. It was I got a buddy that works there, so I went in to see my buddy Eric
Mhm.
one night after work, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to see if Eric's there because I knew he worked there. I didn't know what day he worked there. Well, apparently he only works there on Sunday, and I was there like on a Monday or a Wednesday, so he
Yeah.
wasn't in there. So I was in there. I felt obligated to buy something, so I'm walking around, walking around, walking around. I think I walked out with a bottle of paint, or no, it was a bottle of glue, because I was like,
Right.
I can't afford any of this stuff in here. Oh my gosh, this engine that you want like $300 for, I can get it at a train show for like half the price.
Yep.
So I mean, I understand, I can appreciate somebody, because I mean, I know what it is to have, you know, you know, just tons and tons of inventory, and you're just
Mhm.
sitting on that inventory, waiting for a train show to come around so you can sell it. So I mean, I know what it is to have inventory, and have costs. But man, I could never ever see myself running a brick and mortar store where I've got to, some of these guys. I mean, a lot of my buddies that buy new stuff from like
Mhm.
Tangent or something like that. They've got to buy to get a good break on a box car. The 86-foot box cars when they came
Mhm.
out. To get a good price on those, you've got to buy like 60 of them.
Wow.
And you can't pick and choose which one you're going to get. You're going to get 10 of this number. You're going to get 10 of that
Mhm.
number. You're going to get 10 of that number. You might get
Yeah,
two. You might get 10 Illinois Central, but you're going to get 5 of each number, and you're going to get 2 of
Right.
them. And you're going to have 10 box cars, but you're going to have 2 different numbers, and you got to
Yeah, then
divide
you could
those up
take those.
amongst everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then you
so I
could take
mean,
those and then compare it to eBay, and then I mean the skyrocket prices on there alone from eBay. They'll
yeah,
Mhm.
double.
yep,
Seems like.
yep, yep. So yeah, I don't sell on eBay anymore, but I used to. But I mean, yeah, the price of stuff is just getting out of control, unfortunately. So um, I enjoy buying stuff from train shows. I mean, really, I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of good people, set up and sell stuff at train shows, and you
Yeah.
can find a lot of nice stuff there if you take the time to look around and you've got time to go to a show. So yeah, I'm always
Right.
looking forward to going to a show. But yeah, I guess the one thing that I've noticed is just the price of stuff's going up. I mean, even the price of track, I mean, is
Mhm.
slowly creeping up.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I had you get me some N scale track for a guy at the club, and
Mhm.
he was looking around, and he thought he found a good deal when he found it for like $6. So
Right.
you found it for a little bit less than that, which was great, and he's greatly appreciative of that. So
Right.
Yeah.
you got a lot of guys in my club that are uh, working on budgets, and trying to still do the things they want to do, but you're working on a budget. Yeah, I
Mhm.
see you raising your hand. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
I could pretty much buy anything I want to, but I'm still working on a budget because I would rather have you know 3 engines for the price of I'd rather have 3 engines at $75 a piece than then go out and buy one for 450.
Mhm.
I'd rather have three instead of one. So
Well,
Right.
I mean,
I
it's like
mean,
this hopper here. I mean, granted, it had the old Rapido trucks on it, but I went ahead and bought a brand new set of the Rapido trucks. But I got the car for less than $5, so I figure, you know what, upgrade it.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh
And
yeah,
well, and that's what I was
yeah,
gonna bring up too, what you're talking about there, Scott, about the not cutting down the hobby shops
no,
or the manufacturers. I understand things are more, but that's where I don't understand with these manufacturers why. I get there's everybody wants to be able to buy that box car or whatever, that locomotive, get it home and place it on the track and run it.
yep,
I think
hmm
also the details is actually coming into play as well too, because everybody wants that nicer detail on them and
Right,
everything else.
right. But here's the thing, back in the day when I first got into what I consider actually model railroading, not when I was a little kid and got my first train set, but like, well, more or less probably 20, 25 years ago when I first got into the scale modeling, we'll call it, of model railroading, uh, I started to appreciate doing details on stuff. I enjoyed, and even back then, there wasn't a lot of ready to run. You had to
yeah,
buy Athearn Blue Box, AccuRail, Roundhouse. They were kits,
hmm
and then if you wanted that detail, guess what? You went and bought brass or you bought piano wire, and you had to put the work in to put the separate grab irons. Sometimes you were shaving off the molded ones.
yeah,
And unfortunately, yes, you're
Yeah,
right, Benjamin. They're putting the finer details on, but I think that these manufacturers are missing out on a world of sales because there's still a lot of people interested in kits because I
yep,
see it in groups and talk
right
to
here.
people. Yeah, that
yep,
uh, they would much rather buy kits than ready to run because A, they're less expensive, but they want to put their own details on.
yeah. Well, I
Correct.
think
I
I
mean, I
think
have my
that's
fair share of my blue box as well too. I mean, I had a few of them too, but they were fun to put together. I mean, it was that was the enjoyment of model rarity, was to get stuff put together.
Hmm.
I think it's I think that's one of the disappointing things. Not to single anybody out, but like with Walther's, buying like Proto,
Hmm.
and then they made the kits, and then they buy these and they take them over, and then they stop doing them.
Yep.
I don't know what the point is other than to corner the market on stuff. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing or not, but I mean, um, same thing with Athearn. Athearn stopped making
Yeah.
kits.
Yeah.
Model
Well, I think
Diecast stopped
AccuRail still
making
makes them,
kits.
don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but they don't make as many varieties of their kits like they
yeah,
used to.
yeah, yep, yeah,
Oh,
and then they
okay.
don't. Yeah, so there's a lot, but I mean, it's just disappointing that some of these companies go out and they overtake all these companies
Mhm.
and buy them out, and then they shut them down, and then they don't make them anymore. I mean, Walters doesn't even make their own kits anymore,
Right.
which is
I mean,
disappointing because I mean, I mean, you can still find this stuff, but I mean, at some point, it's going to end. I mean,
Yep.
there's got to be a bottom somewhere. But I mean, anytime I find kits, I buy them as long as I
Mhm.
can get them for a decent price, so that I can still sell them for a decent price. But and I mean, even the proto kits, to find those at a decent price, so I can still build them,
Right.
and then sell them at a decent price. I mean, it's at some point it's going to end because they're going to be gone.
Yep.
So I just don't know when that point's going to be, but I hope I never see the day, because I mean, I really enjoy going out and buying them and putting them together, while
Yeah.
I still can,
Oh, yeah.
while my eyes are still decent and my hands are still steady, so
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think a disappointing thing for me though at the end of the day is just the price of stuff, even I mean, the KDs went up.
Yep.
We had an idea there. We were going to buy a whole bunch of them, and then you get a price check on them, and everything went up like 25%, if not more. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Almost
that's just
instantly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's crazy that stuff's going up too. So
Yep.
it's never going to end, but it's unfortunately it's pricing a lot of people out of it. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that can't afford stuff. I mean, for a kid to start out and I don't know if you call it peer pressure or just the feeling like, geez, for me to have a nice engine, I've got to spend $400 on it. Well,
Mhm.
what kid's going to be able to do that? Or a parent?
That's true.
Yeah, not very many.
Yeah.
So
Well, I say we start a revolution, bring back blue box, bring back kits, you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. I just
I
don't
mean,
understand. I don't understand the point of buying these places out and then shutting it down. With Walthers
Right.
had nice kits, they still have nice kits. I mean, but when you can find them, I mean, yeah. And then a lot of the Atherns, when Athern ended up, I mean, they ended up putting like knuckle couplers in, and then they ended up in some of the kits right there towards the end. They were putting metal wheels in them.
Right.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, if
and
you look back at Roundhouse had a lot of kits for N scale, and they
Mhm.
also had them for KD and microtrains when KD used to do an N scale, and they had a few kits available too as well to put them together yourself.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
those have seemed to vanish away, and now microtrains is all just ready to run basically now.
yep, yep.
Yep.
And those are
Well,
expensive. Oh my gosh, an N scale
oh,
freight car is, holy smokes.
yep.
I had a guy at my train club that he ended up wanted to downsize his N scale to just having a setup and like one train to run around, and I bought his extra stuff. So that got me into buying N scale. So now I'm at a train show. I'm looking for N scale stuff when I see it, and pricing that stuff out. But I mean, some of these guys have got stuff on their tables, and I'm like, whoa, $35 for a for a little
I
car.
mean, just
It's absolutely
I mean, just for the
crazy.
caboose. I mean, for the caboose here alone, retails roughly about $35 for a brand new caboose when they used to
Yeah,
be like what 15, $20. Now they're
They're same
yeah,
price as
oh,
HO a lot of times
yep,
yeah,
yeah. I've
for
I've
I've
noticed
seen
that
that.
for sure.
material.
Yeah.
So, well, and going back on what you're saying, talking about like proto, um, but yeah, like Walters got rid of lifelike proto 2000s. Proto 2000s were very popular,
Mm-hmm.
very or excellent running locomotives.
Oh, pulling
We
power was
can't,
excellent too.
yeah, yeah, and I know
Yeah.
Scott and I've talked about this where you go through and look at the gears and you change them out in the proto
Yep.
gears, 'cause there's
Mm-hmm.
problems outside of that, which is really fairly simple process. They were excellent running
Yeah.
locomotives, smooth, quiet.
Yep.
They
Mm-hmm.
had the weight and power to pull. And
Yeah. So
yeah, why Walters? Why? If anybody from Walters is listening to this, why did you get rid of the proto line, or at least rename it at minimum?
yeah, well, they turned it into Walther's Proto. So I mean, so those same
Oh,
engines, basically, they went from, I guess when they first came out, they must have been in the $100 range. But I mean, now any train show you see them, if they're new, like the ones I sell. I mean,
mhm,
I'll have the PAs, I'll have the Jeep 30s, and the switchers, the SW9s, any of those FA2s, FA1s.
mhm,
I mean, I
Well, and
typically
that
sell
thing,
them
the
for anywhere
protos,
from I
yeah,
anywhere
and the
sell them
protos
anywhere
came out
from
in
like
N-scale.
$50 to $60. Yeah.
right,
So, but I mean, yeah, you can still find them out there at train shows, and they just all they really need is you probably need to take the worm gear housing out and clear out the corrosion on the on the dog bone, and then probably change the gears out on them, and they're a great running engine. But I mean, they have the same engines out there now, but they say Walther's Proto on them, and they're like 3 times the price.
yeah,
So a basic engine, with just DCC ready is going to be like $199, and then
yep,
if it's got sound, it's going to be $299. So I
Well,
mean,
and not,
it's basically
and
the same engine,
right.
but they stopped doing all the kits, so which is just a shame because I mean those are really 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 nice kits. You've got to take your time with them because a lot of the parts are fragile. You just need a nice X-Acto knife and patience.
Yeah.
And you've got to definitely, when you get that kit out of the box, you've got to take that shell and you've got to drill all the holes out.
Hmm.
With I think I think it's like another number 71 drill bit. With a hand vise,
Right.
you've got to drill all those out, and then everything's going to go in there perfectly. Nothing's going to break once you put it in. Put it all together. So you just got to have patience with those. But those are really nice kits when you get them get them done. You know.
Yep. Yep.
So, but yeah, they I don't know why they stopped making the kits. I it's beyond me. I mean,
Yeah.
because there's no hobby. There's no there's no skill in taking a unless there's just no skill in taking a ready to roll car out of the box and putting it on the track. That involves nothing. You know what I
Well,
mean? So that takes a lot of the fun out of it. I mean, one of the part about doing a hobby is building the kits. I
right.
mean, you still thankfully they still got the building kits, but I know they're putting those together as prefab. I mean,
Yeah.
I know people are lazy nowadays, but you
Uh-huh.
can't be that lazy. I mean, the whole part of being in the hobby is to do
Build.
things. I mean, to make a skill. There's no
Yep.
skill in taking something out of the box and putting it on the track. you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
I don't know. I'll stop. I'll stop complaining.
Oh, it's all good. How about you, Benjamin? Anything that you've seen or experienced in the hobby recently?
Let's see that I'm on the same page with Scott there, just on the same pattern. It's really a good question to even ask. I mean, my biggest thing is the technology base nowadays.
Hmm.
It's all technology based. It's off the phones. It's off of, I mean, within the past, what, 15, 20 years, I don't know if Scott wants to back me up on that, but it's really come a long way for the past almost 20, 15, 20 years at least. And it just doesn't seem to have that. I guess they're trying to interact with the kids with the technology base nowadays, but I remember you go to a local train club, you get together with guys and stuff like that. It's just not the same anymore like it used to be.
Hmm.
But it is all technology based now. It's all it is.
Well, it's like I think it was you, Scott, I was talking to, and I think I've talked to you about it too, Benjamin. Like that's why interested. And I'm gonna look, or I'm actually gonna buy their modules. But like as tracks for the signaling system, um, I always wanted operating signals on my railroad, but I didn't want to go through learning how to program it in the computer and then connecting it to JMRI or whatever. And then you have to connect this module to that module to make those modules connect to another module. I just to connect to the computer and program again. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
want
mean, if
that.
you look at Bruce Chubb's Sunset Valley, I mean, he had the CTC board back in the '70s. I
Yeah.
mean, the technology though now has come to the point where it's just right off of your smartphone. Basically, it's come to a small handheld device. Basically,
And that's and for like well, like for me with the ASIC tracks, I'm gonna go that route for signaling because it's nice. There's a module, I put 12-volt power to it, hook it to my lights, I connect it to another module. That's it. I don't have to do any programming with a computer or anything like that. I
yeah.
can just connect these modules, connect the lights to them, throw power to it, and guess what? They're going to work. I don't have to go get a degree just to learn how to type code. It's not something I'm interested in. I'd
No, and
rather
that's one
learn
thing with
something.
model railroading too is the model railroading hobby gives you all those skills from
Yes.
carpentry to building kits to, I mean, almost everything you could think of is out of model railroading gives you all those skills in
Hmm.
everyday life.
Well, and now that you said that, the one thing that going back to like what Scott was saying about, nowadays you just pull a car or locomotive out of the box. I mean, what's the challenge or fun in that? The other thing is problem solving. There's no problem solving unless you can't figure out how to open up a box, and put the car on the track. What's
Yeah.
where, where
Well, it's a
Scott,
matter of putting it on the track is the problem solving.
well, yeah, where like like Scott, you said you've bought kits before that you thought all the parts were there and they weren't, but then
Yeah.
somebody
Yep.
like me that I'm like, well, oh, it's missing this or it's missing that. I don't care. I'll figure out how to, I'll bend my own grab irons or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the problem solving that we're missing with ready to run. And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I'm not cutting down ready to run because I've got plenty of ready to run stuff. I like ready to run stuff, but I also, I want to do some of the work myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you're paying for that too. I mean, you're paying
Yeah.
for, yeah, I mean, so that, well, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, any of those, the Proto 2000 covered hopper kits are the same exact kits that are in a Walther's box that
Hmm.
are assembled. I mean, but you're putting them together yourself. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I would much assume I would rather go ahead and put that kit together myself than pay $35 and, buy it ready to run. So, I mean, which
Right.
is what those things are. I mean, those, the Walters Proto covered hoppers, I mean, in the box are like 30 to $35. It's probably more now. But I mean,
Hmm.
the same thing with the tank cars, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
don't
mean, if
know.
you look at if you look at the bridge kit, like I was telling you, Gary, I mean, it's a whole scratch built kit all itself, but not just freight cars alone. But you got to learn to how you're going to cut it directly into what you need it to be built into.
Yep.
It's a lot of problem solving, especially with laser wood kit, and then you got a plastic kit on top of that. So I mean, you're trying to figure everything out.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and even changing things up, something as simple as changing a structure's name. Okay, well, it comes with these signs, but I want it to say something else. Well, how do you do that? Oh, well, I mean, ready to run, you pull it out of the box, like what are they, the Menards kits and
Yeah.
there's several Woodland
Uh,
Scenics and stuff. They have their
Yeah,
prefab kits.
I think Atlas does the same thing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And there again, not cutting them down. If maybe somebody doesn't have the skill or the steadiness, of the hands because they're older, that's fine. But keep it real for those of us, like you said, while I can still
Yeah.
do
Well, I
stuff,
can. Yeah.
I want to be able to build stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I know Walters does the build ups too with
Mhm.
like the water tanks,
Yep.
different
Hmm.
things. They'll do, but I mean, you're going to pay for that, the
Yep.
same way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have any problem with somebody buying a kit from me and saying, "Hey, can you put this together?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I've done building kits for people.
Hmm.
I've had people drop building kits off to me and say, "Hey, I've got like 5 buildings I want you to put together." And I'm like, "Okay, well, typically what you charge is like, so if it's a $45 building, you're going to charge $45 to put it together.
Sure.
If there's any frills with it, so if you want it painted and if you want it, detailed out, it's pretty much just assume the other thing, So it's
Hmm.
$45 to assemble, and I'll charge you another $45 to paint it up nice, and add all the
Right.
details to it and stuff like that, because I'm going to have 8 to 12 hours in that building just putting it together and then adding detail to it. So there's a guy, I must have done 4 or 5 buildings from him, and he was happy with everything. So
Mhm.
I'm always into doing that because it's something I enjoy doing. Just like
Right.
this DPM building that I'm turning back out and rehabbing. So
I have one of
Right.
it's just
those
something
here.
that I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Well, then there's somebody like me that I enjoy building structures, but I've also tried my hand at 3D printing them, and I know what turned out, and I that's the same one that I have on mine that I scaled it down for Benjamin there.
Yep,
And
that this one here.
now, mind you, I know people are going to say, "Well, you're just talking about doing kits. Now you're 3D printing." Well, yes and no. That kit still has walls you got to glue in. You got to glue in the
Yeah,
windows. You got to glue in the roof, and a couple of the other kits that I eventually got to print for Benjamin here. They're actually the walls are all separate, and it's when I print it out and he gets it, it's going to be nothing but a kit. But
Yeah.
yeah, and
but
then you got to paint it, make it look nice after
yeah,
that.
Well,
yeah,
So
and that's one thing I like about the kits too is the painting part of it because you can make it as what you want it to be, but also as realistic as you want it too.
yeah, yeah,
right, yeah,
yeah, yeah, because it kind of drives me crazy when I see these. I mean, it's just everybody's own. They can do whatever they want to do. But I mean, just at the club, even at the club, we had I think we had an NMRA convention come through like in 1992,
mhm,
and so that summer that was like in the fall. I think they came through, and we spent the whole entire summer redoing the town. So all these buildings were put together, but they were just put together. That was it.
oh, yeah,
So I think it was probably within the last 10 years we redid the town, and I brought every single building in the back room, and I sat there every Friday night for months and just did the details on them, painted the roofs,
Right.
did shingles, painted the shutters, painted the windows, painted the entryways, painted
Mhm.
the sidewalks. Just added details to it to make it look like a real building. I mean, you just throw a tan building together and you throw it on a layout. I mean, it's
Yeah.
okay. I understand, but I just can't do that. That's the whole fun of it for me to take a building out of a box and
Mhm.
okay, am I going to go with this color or what am I going to do? So typically what I'll do is I'll take them out and I'll lay them flat on a piece of cardboard and I'll spray them, whatever color I want. And then after that, I'll, whitewash it a little bit and then it puts like a brick mold in it. If I want to put brick in it or not, and then I'll just take one wall at a time and paint individual bricks on it. I'll
Right.
paint, get it together and then I'll paint the rest of the stuff, all the way around the top, the moldings and
Mhm.
just to make it look like a real building, make it realistic,
Right.
realistic. That's what I enjoy doing, So I mean, when somebody says, "What do you enjoy about the hobby?" I enjoy the modeling part, I mean, so
Mhm.
with these companies taking our kits away, it
Right.
takes a part of the fun away. You know what I mean?
It
So
does.
I mean, so all we can do at that point is just adapt and say, hey, this is going to be it. When these are gone, they're gone. There's nothing you can do. But which is just sad because I mean, what's somebody going to do in 20 years? In 20 years, these things are going to be gone. You would think. I
Right.
mean, there
Well, and
there
that's why
can't
I
be
think
that many out there.
3D printing seems
Yeah.
to take that part over as well too.
Yep.
Mhm.
There you go. Yeah. So I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but I know people print stuff off all day long.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you can do that. I'm sure you can print a freight car off. You can probably pretty much do anything. I had a guy at the club last night showing me semi trucks, like
Yeah.
big rigs that are printed off and in scale. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Jeez.
they're a little bit bigger than a quarter. But and
Yeah.
then somebody painted them all up and added the chrome colors to them and painted them black and painted the wheels and everything else. I was blown away. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
that's a little bit over my head. So I'll leave that to
mhm.
everybody else, and I'll keep assembling the stuff that I find at a train show. So
Right.
I'll keep an eye out for those.
Right. All right. So on to the next question. This is at you, Benjamin. You've
Okay.
been a listener for a fairly long time now. I guess what has been your favorite aspect of the podcast?
The fun part about the podcast here is not just talking to you alone, but also learning all the tips, techniques that you've provided and suggestions from others too, as well on this podcast. But also the special guests that we've had, like Steve, for instance, and others that have been on here.
Mhm.
Just the camaraderie alone in this really helps keep that fire burning and the motivation going.
Right. And that's what I wanted for this. That's really what I wanted for this. So I like that answer. Now on to you, Scott. So you are a more recent listener.
Yeah.
So far, what has your favorite aspect been of the podcast?
Just getting different perspectives from different shows that you've had. So you're talking about soldering. You get a perspective for that where somebody has a different technique. Um, just getting different people's point of views on parts of the hobby. Something that they might enjoy. Benjamin enjoys the in scale and different things, and you enjoy something else on yours. I mean, I enjoy the modeling part of it.
Mhm.
So I mean, I enjoy the fact of the podcast that you hear different people and their perspectives and techniques that they've learned, and then they're sharing on your show. So I mean, you learn different ways to do things. I think that's. I mean, it's all about learning. The
Sure.
hobbies. Um, I've been doing it since 1990, so I mean that's like 35 years, but I'm still learning. I mean, I don't know everything. I don't
Mhm.
know probably half of what I should because I forget a lot of stuff real easily.
Yeah.
But I mean, um, I think getting different perspectives from different people is really helpful. You
Mhm.
might be sitting in the basement and staring at your layout, and you have an issue, and you can learn from somebody else what they did to modify the situation to make it what you want it to be. I think it's helpful to listen to people and get different perspectives on stuff.
Right.
So
And that's what I've been really trying to move more towards getting
yeah,
more people
yeah. I
like you
mean,
guys on. to help with that, and that way
Yeah,
it's
you
not
get
just my aspect.
yeah, you get a lot of nice, a lot of good people on here, and they share their experiences, and that's really how you learn.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, with our hobby, you're always learning something. I mean, there's always any given day you go to the train club. I could go to the train club, and there's going to be an issue with something, and you're going to learn how to remedy that, and you're going to learn it because somebody else has had that experience before. Like, oh, I know how to fix that. I've ran into this before. So,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
it's
like with
it's
mine. I mean, I tore mine down 3 different times, so I've had a learning experience with mine altogether.
yeah.
Right?
So I mean,
Yep.
you always learn something from somebody else. So I mean, there's always something to learn, no matter what it is. I mean, just getting into DCC and learning that aspect of it, you've covered lots of, I mean, so many different things. I mean, I'm only up to episode 51, so I'm right there to, right in the middle of it. So still a lot to go, but I mean,
Well,
I've only been listening since
well,
Christmas,
some
so
of
I've
us
been
are
listening a
DC
lot.
people.
Yeah,
What's that?
so I'm DC too. We're my club is old school DC. So
Yeah.
it's been that way since, like, I think they started in 1973 and
Oh,
74.
wow.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so there are different guys in the club that that want to do DCC, and they're going to have a modular layout out front where they can do that if they want to.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's always neat to get different perspectives from people to see what they've learned. They might have a different technique for ballasting,
Mhm.
different technique for wiring, running feeder wires.
Yep.
Like on my original layout in the basement, I had like bus wires all the way around, and I had my
Mhm.
feeders just drop right down below, and then tied right into it, and it
Yep.
ran great. Yeah. So I mean, there's just always something new you can learn. My buddy Richard in his basement, he made a lot of like hand throws that are like
Oh, yeah.
2 feet away. I mean, so
Mhm.
he's got to get the layout all the way around, and then there's a little knob there at the end of at the edge of the layout, and you just pull that, and it throws a switch that's 3 feet away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's got it all connected underneath, and it's
Mhm.
all hidden, which it's just fantastic. He's a genius about stuff like that. So you learn stuff like that. You learn different techniques for different kinds of scenery. People do all kinds of different stuff. Um, my gosh, we use drywall compound,
Yeah.
and we would use window screen,
Mhm.
and then you'd put, over top of that, you'd do like a newspaper or something like that. We just do all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do for your layout, and everybody's got a different way of doing things. So it's really neat to see somebody else's perspective on something, and
Right.
learn. So that's
Yeah.
what it's all about, learning, and like Benjamin said, the camaraderie, hanging out with people and sharing ideas, and sharing your love for trains, which is really cool. I mean, everybody,
Yep.
it's something that we enjoy. So I mean, it gives us a way to get away from everyday life. I can go down to the basement and kind of forget about things, and sit down there for like 3 or 4 hours, and just put kits together and listen to music or whatever, or listen to a
Right.
model railroad talk podcast. I can
Right.
do all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's good to have something to do, in your free time. So
Yep.
It is.
All right. I appreciate both your answers on that. And we are going to take a break. And when we get back, Scott and Benjamin here, they both are gonna be able to ask me questions since
we're
I
gonna
always
we're
ask.
gonna we're gonna team up on Gary,
Yep.
and put the screws to him. It can't just always be you asking us questions and making us feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's time to turn it around.
Exactly. So stick around and make sure you keep letting it play through our sponsors, and so you can hear it get turned back on me. So stick around. We'll be back shortly.
Attention, model railroaders. Broadway Limited Imports is proud to support the Model Railroad Talk podcast, and they've got some exciting new projects rolling in for both HO and N-Scale. Fresh off the big announcement at the Railroad Hobby Show in Springfield, Massachusetts, BLI is bringing you the legendary Boston and Albany A1A Berkshire steam locomotive in stunning HO scale. Part of their premium brass hybrid series, this masterpiece features Paragon 4 sound and DCC, delivering top tier realism and performance. Don't miss out. Place your order with your favorite dealer by July 10th to lock in the guaranteed delivery for spring 2026.
Calling all model railroaders and railroad enthusiasts. The Hawkeye Model Railroad Club and ScaleSigns.com are proud to sponsor the 5th annual Iowa City Train Show on Sunday, October 19th at the Johnson County Fairgrounds in Iowa City, Iowa from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Enjoy 2 buildings packed full of model railroad items in scales HO, NO, and more, along with railroad memorabilia of all shapes and sizes. Admission is just $5 for adults, with kids 12 and under free. Don't forget to also check out the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club's layout progress down at their club building, open to the public for free all day long. Interested in being a vendor or displaying your organization or model railroad layout? Check out our website at www.hawkeyemodelrrclub.com/2025 train show. The fifth annual Iowa City Train Show, sponsored by ScaleSigns.com and the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club on Sunday, October 19th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Johnson County Fairgrounds in Iowa City, Iowa. We'll see you at the show. Are you tired of seeing the same old clean trains on your layout? Do you want realistic rolling rust buckets or something that looks like it's been around a few years? What about a grimy oil stained locomotive? Alan at Alan's N Scale World is just your guy. He specializes in custom weathering of any scale and has 3 different stages of weathering to choose from. He also hand paints some of the coolest N scale semis and trailers on the market. Get a hold of him today to find out what he can do for your model railroad. You can find him on Facebook at Alan's N Scale World or email him directly at allansnscaleworld@gmail.com. Alan's N Scale World, bringing you scale creations from real life situations.
And we are back from break, and we still have Benjamin with us and Scott with us, special guests on our 104th episode, 2 year mark. And since I figured I'd let them turn the tables on me, since I always get to be the one asking the questions and kind of putting them on the spot a little bit, they're gonna turn the tables and you know put the spotlight on me. So Scott, we'll start with you.
Okay, so in your experience in model railroading, has there been anybody that's left an impression on you to lead you down the path that you're on, or have you kind of found your own way, or have you been given, I don't know, any advice or anything like that, or is
Sure.
any impression from somebody else that's guided you down your path?
Sure. Well, the easy answer is yes, but
Okay,
you're looking for more depth.
not too much depth, but just to
Right.
know if anybody's left an impression on you to kind of to end up where you're at.
Right. So to start off, I would say first and foremost, my father, because of when I was a kid, he got me interested in it, bought the train set, and then we would go to the hobby shop. It got to the point where we were going to the hobby shop every Saturday, every other Saturday, buying something for the 4x8 layout kind of thing. And then beyond that, we had in the Des Moines area, I don't remember what it was like Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, but we always had like Model Railroader used to sponsor. Uh, I think there were half hour, maybe hour shows where it had the old timers of Wayne Wesolowski and Alan Keller and George Malcolm and all them on there. And so I do remember watching some of those videos and all of them. Not I mean I don't mean this in a demeaning manner, but all them old timers. Those videos were a big impression on me, and the way. And I look back at that now, and the way they did things back then, and got excellent results that you see with today technology. It's amazing.
Okay.
And then I would say from there, but there's a couple other people that I like when I moved here where I'm at now back in 2002, I believe it was. Excuse me, there was a hobby shop, Midwest Trains. Yeah, Midwest Trains, Midwest Trains is what it was called. And the hobby shop owner Buzz, um, I remember the first time I walked in there, he was very very nice, very friendly. Took me back and showed me they had a club layout that was on the side and in the back of this shop, and very nice and friendly. And just looking at their layout was amazing. And then there's just been off and on through the NMRA division over here, being able to see other railroads of fellow modelers, and just getting the inspiration of just even looking at another railroad. So I would say there's a very small few that actual people that stick into my mind. However, it's just kind of the overall, and some of it's kind of lone wolf stuff. So, but yeah, definitely those people were a big influence in my modeling and how I wanted to model and be a model railroader.
Okay, cool. What about you, Benjamin? Anybody in particular left an impression on you other than me and Gary?
Well, other than that, like Gary was saying, the Wayne was the last few videos with his building model railroad structures and all that. The Alan Keller videos was another one. Um, Growing up with some of those really kind of seemed to spark the interest for me. Um, just in general, and then plus with my parents both being supportive of the hobby and everything else too, as well. Even from a young age, growing up now, it's still been a
Okay.
supportive.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
my brother. I can thank my brother for always dragging me along to stuff, and getting me involved with it, And then my buddy Richard, um, he's a real good guy. He's an older guy, but he has time for anybody. So if you have any questions or if you want to learn anything, he's always right there, willing to help you out. Or he's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, he's been doing this probably since the early '70s. So um, he's got plenty of knowledge and stuff like that. Those are the guys that have seen it all. From the magazines where you see the steam engine in there for $15, and that same steam engine now costs $700. I mean, so he's seen it all. From one end of the hobby to the other. Has all kinds of ideas on how to do things, and
Mhm.
in a really neat way. But really grateful for my brother for getting me into it, and then for Richard. When my brother wasn't there, we get on Friday night at the train club. My brother would have to work, so he wouldn't be up there until Sunday. But I would just spend that whole Friday evening with Richard, and he'd show me things, and I learned he taught me how to solder and different things like that. So he's a real neat guy. Really grateful for him. Always taking the time to help me out and to help pretty much anybody else out at the club that has any problems or anything like that. I mean, he'll almost like a father figure type, to help you, learn how to do certain things, which is really, really cool. So,
Yeah. Isn't
yeah,
that
so
where the
that's,
70s model railroader magazines had the brass engines in there too, didn't they?
yeah, for $25. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, pretty neat stuff. But yeah, those are the two people that definitely left an impression on me for the hobby. And I'm forever grateful to both of them, to lead me to where I'm at now, where I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. So, yep.
Right.
So that's me. Yep. I appreciate your answers, Gary and Benjamin. That was good answers. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Really neat.
All right, Benjamin, on to you. I know you've and folks listening to this, for the record, I asked them to come up with questions, so we're going to go back and forth here a little bit. They both came up with a few questions. So, Benjamin, on to you.
Okay. Well, the question I was going to ask is pretty much actually it summed up pretty much what I was going to ask too as well.
Mhm.
But I'll go with a different one this time for you, just to kind of change it up a little bit here. I'll throw a curveball on you. So, what made you actually want to create this podcast in the first place?
Well, after my, and I need to, I actually need to sometimes sit down and calculate up the dates and figure out what my absence was from model railroading from my last railroad to here. But I want to say it was roughly 15 to 18-year difference. But when I got back into the hobby, I had realized that it just seemed like, yeah, while we have all the social media and we have these groups and stuff, there wasn't, it's like there wasn't the, and I know listening to somebody through an audio podcast isn't one on one, but there wasn't that individualism, I guess, is if that's a word. Um, and I'd listened to several other podcasts and not cutting them down by no means. There's great other podcasts out there around the layouts. One that I listen to quite frequently myself. Ray, he does excellent over there. Um,
What? I didn't know there was another railroad podcast. This is the only one I know of.
oh yeah, yeah, right. But
This is the
Well,
only
don't
one
bring
that's
up the
important to
section.
me.
right. And so, anyways, I don't know. It was kind of one of those things where I was excited to be back into the hobby, and I was excited, and I'm like, you know what, the new thing is being on podcast, doing TikTok, doing all this other stuff, and I'm like, you know what, I'll screw it. Let's try it. Let's just talk about my experience and have it from an everyday model railroader and not cutting down the big names out there, but somebody who's not a big name in model railroading, somebody who isn't a master model railroader. Um, hey, I'm using techniques that I used 20 years ago, and I'm using techniques that I'm learning recent that have been updated. So I just it was that was the main reason, I guess, why I wanted to do a podcast was, hey, let's just see if there's others out there that enjoy it and want to hear me talk. And when I started getting responses back, I'm like, oh, maybe there's something here. So but yeah, it was just because more or less I wanted to share my enthusiasm for not only getting back into the hobby, but for being in the hobby, this great hobby, world's greatest hobby.
Okay, yeah, because that's kind of one reason why I got hooked on your podcast. Because actually, I was listening to Ray's podcast of Around the Layout,
Mhm.
and yours actually came up under Spotify, so that's why I kind of reached out to you.
Sure, sure. Well, that's a good question. Good question. Well, thank you for that one. Scott, you have another one, right?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Do you think my Cleveland Cavaliers did enough at the trade deadline to win the NBA championship? And do you think the Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett?
Um,
All right. Oh, well, hold on. Wrong podcast. Hold on. Hold on just a minute. All right. Let me get my sheet here. All right.
I was
Okay.
I was looking for a cricket. Oh, there we go. Sound. There we go.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. How did you first get interested in model railroading? Was it
Um,
was it basically when you got your first train set with your dad?
yeah, it was
Okay.
that was the initial start.
Okay.
Um, and then uh, unfortunately my parents divorced when I was young age. I want to say 10, 12 years old.
Okay.
And after that I kind of lost my layout because we had to move and stuff.
Okay.
But then I got back into it off and on through my adult life.
Okay.
And I know I've said it before, and I know Benjamin and I have talked about it, but did I can't even tell you how many like 2 foot by 4 foot or 3 foot by 4 foot end scale layouts because I was living in apartments and was limited on space and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, and then of course a move would happen, and I'm like, well, I'm not moving this, or where I'm moving, I don't have the space, so I'd throw it away, and then I would get somewhere um, where I would have space, and then something would happen, and I have to move or whatever, and it was kind of a vicious circle, and then it came to my last railroad to where um, that was I was excited. I wanted to get back into the hobby, and I started it. Then I made the move from Davenport, where I was living at, to the Iowa City area. Built a big layout in the basement, and then because of a job, I had to move back to Davenport and got out of the hobby again. And then now I'm back in it. So I would say my dad was the original one,
Okay.
um, but ultimately, yeah, he was really the first one to get me into it, and there wasn't. That's always stuck in the back of my head.
Okay.
Uh, it's kind of one of those things where the memories I have from when him and I would go to the train shops
Mm-hmm.
or hobby shop and buy stuff, and I can still smell the roll of cork that we put on top of that layout.
Yeah.
Um, the memories and visions that I have are worth more than any locomotive or
Oh
anything out
yeah.
there
Yep.
or my collection. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
What about you, Benjamin? What about you?
My story is kind of a little different on that end. I grew up with Thomas and Friends back in
Okay, all
the
right, yeah,
90s growing up. Until I got my real first true HO scale train set. Yes, HO scale, not N scale like I am now.
okay,
But it was the Chattanooga Choo Choo that I got when I was 8 years old for Christmas.
okay,
Um, After that, I had a little 4x8 sheet of plywood for a tabletop in the bedroom. My dad helped me build. Um, and then that kind of seemed to went away because I didn't like it because it took up too much space. So I went down to N scale, did a little 3 foot by 5 foot table that train setup that actually was donated to the club that I bought for $50 at that time. Set it up in the bedroom. Then I complained that was too big for space, so I just kind of dozed out of the hobby a little bit and then kind of got back into it. So it never really
okay,
went away.
okay, all right, yeah. I think I was 14 or 15, and I joined the club that my brother was a member of back in 1990, and then I went into the Air Force, and then when I got home, that was the first thing I did was I rejoined and started back up again. So I had a brief time away where I wasn't, I was in the military, so really there was no hobbying at that point where I was at in Oklahoma City and in Omaha, Nebraska. So,
Right.
but yeah, I was definitely ready to get back into it when I got home. That was pretty much one of the first things I did when I got home. So I was looking forward to it, and we had a lot of fun. We always had I had a lot of fun when I was a kid, being up there at the club on Friday nights and Sundays, and pretty much picked right up where I left off. In 1994 when I got back home in '99. So, yep.
And see, that's what's so great about this hobby. While like anything over time, uh, yeah, technology changes. I mean, look,
Yeah.
DC to
Yes.
DCC
Yep.
and even DCC till now, yeah, things have changed, things have added on, but this is one of those hobbies that you can take a long break from it, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's like 15, 18 years, whatever it was for me, or longer, and you can come into it and the core, I guess for lack of a better term, the core values of the hobby, meaning or the core uh, basics are always going to be the same. You have
Yeah.
you have
Yep.
track, you got to lay track down. You have to wire it up, whether it's DC or DCC. You still got to power them. Um, how are you going to hook the locomotives to the cars? Are you going to, your scenery? It's all the same. Yeah, techniques may change or more newer techniques may come out, and it's not like a lot of other stuff where it's other hobbies where as technology and time goes on, old stuff becomes incompatible. Where model railroading, it doesn't matter if you use 10 different types of scenery building techniques, whether they're from back in the days of like Benjamin and I were talking, Wayne Wesolowski and Alan Keller back from like what, the 70s, or
Yeah.
today, they'll blend
Hmm.
together and you'll get the same result.
Yeah. So yeah, when I left, I was in the blue box stuff, so Athearn blue box stuff, and then when I get back, then that's between that period from when I left and when I came back, that was when all the proto stuff came out, and that's what I mainly started buying as soon as I got back was all the proto stuff, and found out about the gear issues and all that kind of good stuff. So, but yeah, those are yeah, yep, that's what I like to do is I like the proto stuff, so that's
Yep.
what I really like. That was what
Yeah.
I that's what really took me over when I got back home, because the detail between a blue box kit and then the proto stuff, as far as like just the Jeep 30 engine, with
Yep.
New York Central with the black and the cigar band, and the
Mhm.
handrails were plastic and they're all detailed and everything looks so nice. I mean, it was like night and day to a blue box kit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So
And
yeah,
the best part about the hobby too is it keeps you. It's a therapy for you as well too. It helps you
yeah,
through rough times. It helps you just get away from everyday life.
yep,
Um,
yep.
it,
You
that's
can,
kind of one reason why I've motivated myself a lot more lately now is um, it's a little bit unpersonal, but after losing my brother last year, this hobby seems to have been there for me to comfort since then.
Sure.
So
yep, yeah. It's definitely a good therapy where you can kind of lose yourself if you're building a kit or making a building or painting something or doing something, running a train or looking at something, and
and
it's
it's just have
definitely
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's definitely a change of pace for real life if you're living in a model hobby world. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Pretty
Hmm.
neat.
Yeah, in a world of unknowns and in reality, no control, the hobby you can get into your own, like you said, little world and something you can absolutely control. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, we're gonna have issues, little bumps, mistakes, but you can learn from them, and in the end, you can overcome them, and it's all in your control. Where real life isn't really in your control. I mean, a lot of
No.
times. So,
Yep.
No,
Sorry to hear about your brother, man. That's
appreciate it.
yep.
all right, so let's move on
Oh
to you,
boy.
Benjamin. You have another question.
Yes, I do, and I'll aim this one for both you and Scott this time.
Oh boy. Okay.
Um, how or what has this podcast actually become made you or become a better modeler, if I want to put it in correct perspective?
I'll go first because
Okay.
I'm the one targeted for these. So
Okay.
I'll play. I'll play. You know, I'll take my beating. Um, the podcast, for me, anyways, has helped me, I guess, kind of check myself. Not because uh, that I put out bad information or I try not to, but it's made me really think. Okay, I've got to come up with an episode. I've set my, I kind of set it to where, okay, this is a weekly audio podcast. So now it makes me think about things as far as what's my next episode going to be? Well, then from that point, what once I figure that out, well, is this something I know? And if it's something I know, well, I'm going to still research it, a little bit to see if there's any new techniques that maybe in the meantime before I record it I can try so I can actually report,
Mhm.
okay, this is the way I've always done it, but I tried this technique, I like it, I don't like it, for me, that kind of thing. So um being able to, or I guess uh, this is going to sound worse than what it is, but being in a sense forced to come up with content for the podcast has actually pushed me to, I guess that's better, being pushed to come up with content for this podcast has pushed me to um, better my modeling and make me think about and look at things there again from a different perspective, not just my old ways that I knew how to build a building, lay track, whatever.
Yeah.
um, it's made me, push me to open my eyes and try to find newer, better ways, or some ways aren't better. So that it's pushed me, is basically, I guess, yeah, that's how it's helped me become a better modeler.
Okay, Scott.
All right. Can you refresh me on the question one more time?
Yeah.
I
So
was
basically,
listening
it's
to Gary and thinking.
yeah, he talks too much.
Yeah, I do. Please.
How or what has this podcast made you become a better modeler or helped improve? Basically, it's kind of
Okay.
the way I'm.
Yeah. Yeah. So from the podcast, I've learned a lot more about DCC, like speed stepping and stuff like that. I mean, it's nothing I've ever done, but I've learned a lot just by listening to it. Where I can talk to other people and say, hey, you should check this podcast out because this guy he covers a lot of different topics. I mean, I'm only halfway through like episode 51, so I mean, I've learned a lot about different things. It all comes down to the perspective again. You're getting somebody else's perspective on how they do things. So talking about the speed stepping, two engines so they run perfectly together and stuff like that, which is really interesting. I mean, on how technology has come that far that you can do that kind of stuff. I mean, you never had
Right.
to speed step a blue
Yeah.
box engine before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
um, yeah. So I mean, there's just so many different things that are really cool about the podcast. I mean, I've learned a lot. The buildings and talking about different the different codes and why people want to use a different code on your rail. Um, just 158s to number fives. As far as your KDs go and just everything. I mean, it's. I mean, if you're just somebody starting out, I mean, and if you want to, learn, I mean, this is definitely a great learning podcast where, I mean, you can learn a lot of different things, especially if you're just starting out. You're going to hear about how to, roadbed versus just going, uh, cork, I mean, cork to just nothing at all, plywood over masonite or any kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You're going to learn. You pretty much when you're saying you're coming up with you're not coming up with different ideas. I mean, you've covered like so many different ideas that I would have never even thought about. You know what I mean? Where people have have things to contemplate, on what they're going to do. I mean, it's really helpful that you're covering all these different techniques on doing things and different ways of doing stuff. It's great. I mean, I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to keep listening. So it's great. I think you're doing a great service to the hobby for definitely to help people to have different ideas on how to do things. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that too as
yeah,
well.
their perspectives are just fantastic. Yeah,
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 I
that's how you
mean,
learn.
with me, with this podcast alone, it's the camaraderie, meeting the new people, first of all, but also the techniques that you learn. If you're just coming into the hobby, like Gary has stated at the earlier episodes, if you're just new, learning what do you do after a train, so what do you do next? It's a good learning curve, even if you're just a starter in the hobby.
Yeah,
It really helps.
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, so you're doing a great service to Gary, and whether you know it or not, don't start blushing on us. But
Yeah,
Right.
I
hats
mean,
off to you.
yeah, it's all about learning. That's what life's all about learning. When you stop learning, you're done. So it's always neat to get a different perspective on stuff to learn how to do things. So it's definitely a help. It's sometimes it's easier than reading a book. You know what I mean? To listen to
Right.
somebody else's experiences. I mean, uh, people face to face, you have a different experience than you would, reading a book.
Yeah,
So I can say
that's true.
something to you like, "Hey, I had this issue with this," and you're like, "Oh, I've already had that issue. Here's what I did." That's
Right.
helpful. You know what I mean? So that's what this is all about. And we got three of us here kind of doing the same thing. Well, Benjamin might have had a problem with this, and I've already had that problem, and I helped him with it, or vice versa. So that's what's good about the podcast for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with me and Gary messaging back and forth. I mean, I've kind of nudged him a little bit to kind of get that inspiration for the KCS, but
Mhm.
just inspiration, just like with the bridge instance, and just a few other techniques that I've improved on my layout seems to have driven that motivation to
Yep.
better either improve or to try something new or to get just the ball rolling at least on something.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. That's you guys are too kind as far as that goes, and
We're
We
but
just being
like
honest, Gary.
Keith.
We're just being honest.
and here's I'll be completely honest with this one. Even though you would think there's so much that we talk about up to this point on the hobby, I'm not lying. There have been times where I've been sitting there scratching my head like, okay, I've talked about this, I've talked about this. What am I gonna like writer's block? There have been
Yeah.
times where I'm like, and I know people have been able to tell, like I had that where okay, I've made my obligation, I set my precedence of weekly podcasts, which I'm perfectly fine with, but there have been times where I'm just like, what did I get myself into? Because now I've talked about all these for new or people that are maybe coming back into the hobby, these subjects. Now what do I do? Do I get into something more in depth? And there have been times where I'm like, oh, this recording
Is
this
that kind of
episode suck.
why you've messaged me a couple times in
Yeah,
regards to ideas?
yeah, and I won't. I have no problems admitting that. I reach out to people. Hey, I need do you have any ideas? Um, and that's why like lately I've been getting a lot more response from whether it be from YouTube or this audio podcast and stuff. I've been getting a lot more response, emails and stuff, and I've had a fair amount of listeners emailing saying, "Hey, I love the podcast, but I'd like to maybe you could do something like this or a subject here." And I love it. Doesn't mean that it's going to get done in the very next episode because I have to kind of plan and with the with the direction for this next year or this year with the podcast, I'm trying to get more guests on. But it is I have basically it's a Word document that I type all these ideas in and I cross them off as I go. So but like I said, there's times that it's like, oh, what am I going to talk about this episode? But somehow I manage.
You,
If anybody's a Dunder Mifflin or the Office fan, If you ever watched The Office with Michael Scott, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but
I've
anyways,
heard of the
he
show.
yeah, it's a
Yep.
great show. It's not even on anymore, but he one of the
Early
episodes,
2000s.
yeah, he uh he wrote a book. Supposedly, it said somehow I manage, and so I think back to that. So
Yeah.
it was one of my favorite shows. So, anyways, moving forward,
Okay.
Scott, I think you have
Yeah.
another one.
Oh, I got a couple more questions for you. Yeah. What is your least favorite thing about the hobby, other than the prices going through the roof?
Right, right. That's beating a dead horse. Um, I would say, and this is not directed at any one person, and I honestly do not have any one person, situation, or anything in mind when I say this, but is the negative or the negativity in the hobby as far as um, whether it be bashing somebody else or some of these modelers think that that they're on the high road and they're too good to answer, or like, um I don't know if this got recorded or not, but Benjamin earlier said something about rivet counters. um I would say, if you have higher standards than the person's layout, model, whatever you're looking at, maybe you would have done something differently or painted it differently, whatever. It, that the people that say the negative stuff are negative, that's my least favorite. One thing that I was taught, and was years ago when I was back when I was in the hobby, I had actually a master model railroader actually tell me this once, that he would always find, even if he went to a layout and it was just a sheet of plywood and a loop of track and train running around it and maybe one building. That's it. He would, instead of being, well, that kind of, you could have done this or that before, he would always try to find one positive thing to tell that person, hey, I really like this. I like what you've done here. And I think overall the hobby's like that, but it just seems like because of social media, that with the social media there you people are keyboard warriors, so they hide
Yeah.
behind their computer,
Yeah.
and it's like, we don't need that. That's Find one thing positive about what somebody did, and if you can't say anything positive, then just, like our moms or dads taught
Don't
us,
say
don't say
anything at
anything.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could always do some constructive criticism. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like, hey, I see how you did this. I would say, hey, I see how you did this building. Maybe
Mhm.
next time do this with it if you had
Right.
problems with it or something.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
Take it with a grain of
yeah.
salt.
Mhm.
To be disparaging about something is definitely not positive. You're not
No,
gonna.
but learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not gonna help anybody discouraging them by something that they
No.
did. You know what I mean? So they might have a different eye for something than you do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So who's to say your eye is perfect? For the
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
So yeah, I would maybe, I don't know, like you said, maybe not say anything at all, but maybe try to help them with something. Like if
Mhm.
somebody put a kit together and you're like, oh my gosh, did you drill those holes out right? You really got to drill those holes, and that you
Right.
got to use the right glue
Yeah.
for a lot of different things. Did you use Elmer's glue on that, or what did you do there? You know? So
Right.
you got to help. I mean, it's everybody's got different techniques for doing things, and
Mhm.
everybody's got different money for resources too. I mean, you got
Yeah.
to have that in perspective too. So yeah, there's um, yeah. So well, just like with the building I was telling you about that I'm
Mhm.
repainting. I mean, that guy, he painted it the way he wanted to paint it. Well, it's now my property, so I'm going to paint it the way I want to paint it. So
Yep.
Yep.
to what works for me. So that worked for him,
Mhm.
or whoever painted that originally, that worked for them. It didn't work for me because it was just I needed sunglasses to look at the building. So I'm like, no, I can't do that. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, everybody's got their own perspective on stuff. But yeah, I would say you definitely can't be negative towards somebody. That's going to run somebody away from the hobby.
It will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And then to go off of that one, then what is something that you enjoy?
Uh,
Um,
Oh,
oh,
did
go
I get
ahead.
lost?
no,
No,
did
I'm
I
here.
disconnect or?
Oh, you're here. You're still here.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. What's one thing about the hobby that you enjoy?
Uh,
um, oh, go ahead, Benjamin.
oh, was it for me or was it for you?
Oh no, go ahead. I
um,
I think we lost Scott, but go ahead and answer that, and then I
yeah,
will.
no. The one thing that I enjoy most about the hobby, if it's enjoying it or if it's negative,
I think that's for Gary, but I
negative,
think my
it's
my
the
end is freezing
criticism.
up
I'll
here.
agree with that. The criticism is the negative I don't like about it. Um, be more constructive of the criticism versus not.
Hmm.
Um, but for the enjoyment out of it, though, is you learn. You learn new things each time as you go.
Right.
Is how I
Uh,
see it.
right. And see, for me, to answer that question, the favorite thing, uh, and I enjoy I enjoy every aspect of it. Some more than others, but um, ultimately, and more recently, this my favorite, or my most enjoyed moment, part, whatever, has recently changed over the last probably 6 8 months roughly, and that's actually been the friendships that I've built because of this podcast. Like you, Scott, Benjamin, um, Eric over at the War Bonds channel. I mean, several people that I'm now in regular contact with, maybe not daily, but at least every other day or something. And, it's like you and I, Scott, we hey, you're selling this. Can you put this in my stack? And, when you get so much, okay, what do
Yeah.
I owe you? But also, you share stuff with me that you're working on. I share stuff with you, Benjamin. You and I,
Hmm.
you throw stuff at me for KCS and what you're building, and more recently, helping you out with ideas for building your YouTube channel up and stuff
Yep.
like that. Um, but the relationships, I would honestly say the friendships and stuff that more recently, that's what for me is my favorite aspect of it, and being able to talk to people about trains.
Oh yeah,
So,
I agree.
Yep.
all right, Benjamin, you have any, yeah, let's go. We'll move to Benjamin. Then if you have any more questions for me, Scott, we'll move back to
Okay.
you.
Yep. One more.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Do you think the Cubs will win the NBA this? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong podcast again. Um, where do you see this podcast and your modeling skills in the next 5 years?
Well, for the record, the Chicago Cubs are going to win the Super Bowl and get the Stanley Cup trophy.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh, geez. Well, we know we lost
I'd
a
rather have them do
listener
that
here.
than win the World Series for sure. One
We
is
just
enough
lost
for you in a
listeners.
lifetime.
Right. Um, well, where do I see the podcast, my modeling? I'm going to kind of break that up. My modeling in the next, I'm hoping within the next 5 years I'm not going to say have the layout done. However, because I'm not rushing it. I was kind of rushing. I got my track work done. Now I'm taking my time, scenery, doing buildings. Um,
Yeah.
just like I added, I don't know if Scott caught this, was it last week or whatever, when I sent him a picture of the signs I made for the hobby shop, but my hobby shop that's going on my railroad is Scott's Trains. And
Okay. No, I didn't see that.
yeah, yeah, I redid the signs, but so I don't. So my modeling within the next 5 years, I would hope to have a majority of my railroad scenic, and to actually be hosting operating sessions with a few people. That would be nice.
Mhm.
As far as the podcast goes, I mean, I hope I can keep the audio podcast going that long, and same with the YouTube channel. I just hope, and even if I can't, and I have, for some reason, because I run out of stuff or something happens that I can't do it anymore, I at least hope that Spotify and all them will keep my podcasts on there, um, to be able to help inspire people. I mean, that's really ultimately, and here's what's weird is it took it took a good year and a half for me to figure out that I wanted to teach, what my saying or slogan or whatever, teach, promote, and inspire model railroaders. And um, I know for the next 5 years, or at least what I can see going forward, that's what my plan is. So, unfortunately, we don't know what the future is, and I don't know if I want to.
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
Oh boy.
well, Scott, you
All
got
right.
any more? Or
Yeah, I got one more for you.
okay,
One
okay.
thing, if you could change or resurrect for the hobby,
Kits,
bring
kits,
back.
kits.
Yep.
Bring
I
back
think we. I
kits.
think. I think. I think we covered that in the first part of the
Um,
conversation. But yeah, definitely kits on my end for
Yeah,
sure.
I
Yep.
agree with that 100% brand scale here too.
Yep. So
um,
if anybody's got a message board out there, contact Walthers and let them know we want our kits back.
Athern and all them. Yeah, I'll even
All of
take
them,
Yeah. Yep.
all the
kits.
big manufacturers.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Um, outside of that, I guess the one thing that I kind of miss, and I understand why they're not being done, they're just being reshown, are like Alan Keller videos. Um, I understand they're not being made anymore. I mean, Alan is, I don't know how old he is. I'm not going to insult him by trying, but he did excellent model railroad videos of people's layouts and stuff. And I know there have been people that have tried doing something like that, and unfortunately, they didn't. For whatever reason, they didn't hit the mark and couldn't do it. But I'd like to be able to see somebody at some point come along and be able to, um, come up with videos like that again. Obviously, they're going to have their own twist and stuff on them, but that would be nice. I'd like to, if I could resurrect, would be that the Alan Keller videos, and even back to the 70s and 80s or whatever it was when Alan Keller was doing the videos for Model Railroad or the teaching ones, something like that. So
Yeah.
I would like to see that resurrected as well.
Oh yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
Any other questions before we move on to general chat?
I don't think
No, I
so.
got
No,
mine
I
done.
think that's it.
All
Yep.
right. So, I guess on that note, is there anything else we want to talk about? Scott, you want to? I guess you were talking about some train shows you're going to be at. You want to tell the listeners some shows that you're
Sure.
going to be at here?
Yeah, sure. Next weekend on the 15th, I'll be in Worcester, Ohio. Me and my brother will be side by side. He'll have 3 tables, and I'll have 3 tables. My wife will be there helping. 30th of March, I will be in Springfield, Ohio. There will be lots of trains there. It's 3 giant buildings, so I will be there all day. I have 3 tables next to my buddy Tommy. And then on the 12th of April, I will be in Bucyrus, beautiful Bucyrus, Ohio,
Oh, nice.
and selling trains there. Yeah, so I think I got 4 tables that day, and my brother will be there next to me for that one, and my wife will be helping me again. So, yep, those are what we're looking forward to. And then we look way down the road in August. I think the 16th and 17th of August, I will be in Van Wert, Ohio, for a 2-day train show, and it's really neat. I've got a guy actually contacted me. Thomas down in Tennessee, he contacted me, wanted to know if of a rail fanning weekend if I recommended anything. I said I think on the 16th there's a show in Marion, Ohio, and then you can go up to Fostoria and check out the trains, and then head over to Van Wert on Sunday and see me there, and then head back home. So that
That's
would be
cool.
a good weekend around here, you know. So
Right.
there's train shows back to back there Saturday and Sunday. So
Mhm.
we'll be in Van Wert Saturday and Sunday, but there's also a show that I usually do in Marion that day, Everett's train show at the Marion Depot, which is really cool. So you've got trains going in every which direction, and you're stuck in a depot right inside, and you can see them through the windows going by, and obviously
Right.
hear them because they're only like 15 feet away as they're roaring past. So
Right.
uh, main lines for the CSX and Norfolk Southern, they keep busy there. So
Mhm.
that is always a great day to be there. I'm going to miss being there this year, but it just fell out that my 2-day show was on the same weekend. So my two
Oh,
day show in Van Wert's usually in July. So, but
right.
yeah, so that's definitely what I'll be doing and that and selling on Facebook. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything for you, Benjamin?
trying trying to make
Oh,
dreams come true. That's what I do.
There you go. Uh, For me, no, I have that train show here coming up on April 4th and 5th, up in Spanish
Mm.
Fork, Utah, at the Spanish Fork Fairgrounds. It'll be the spring train show. That's from Friday on the 4th of April from 3 to 9 in the afternoon, and then Saturday the 5th from 9 to 5.
Mhm.
Also, as of last night, I actually checked their website. All 24,000 square feet of the building is full capacity right now with vendors
Oh,
and layout.
wow. Wow.
This is their first year.
Awesome.
The first year they've hit full capacity. Last year they weren't at full capacity because this is
Mhm.
their second year there, but this is their first year they have full capacity, including me.
Oh, nice.
So I'll be
Nice.
having flyers
Wow.
I'll be handing out flyers for this podcast that Gary had sent me. I'll hand those out if anybody wants to visit and say hi and see the layout in person. I'll be there both days running the whole entire layout.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. No, it's an in-scale layout?
Yes, it is. It's
Mhm.
full
Okay.
measurements is 4 feet by 7 feet with four module sections.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah, it'd be the first train show I've always wanted to go to a train show and display a layout, and this is the first year I'm doing it out of a childhood memory.
There you
Okay.
go. That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Yeah, I mean, train shows, like Gary said, he's usually on the aisle side where he's looking at all the trains. It's definitely a different view when you're standing on the other side of the table
Mhm.
trying to sell
yeah,
stuff. Because I mean, I will
that's where
spend.
I
I
used to
mean,
do
because I
as the
got to.
buyer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I've got a show on Saturday coming up on the 15th, and it's like I'm going to spend all weekend. Well, the rest of the weekend, and then next week, just making sure everything's priced and boxed and know where it's at
Yeah,
and ready to go. So I mean, it really does take a lot of time. So
Right.
to set up and to sell the train show, I mean, you've got a lot of responsibilities, and
Mhm.
you got to
yeah,
get the stuff there first, and then you got to set it up and make sure hopefully nothing gets broke on the way there. So you got to handle things really carefully. So
yeah. Because I mean, I'll be there on the 3rd. They open up the building at about noon on the 3rd for us to set up everything. So with me getting up there from Phoenix, taking the 9.5 hour drive just to get up there,
wow,
is
yeah,
going to
that's
be a
crazy.
trip alone. It is. But luckily I'm staying with my sister for the weekend, so that's actually a bonus.
Mhm.
Okay,
um,
Right.
nice.
but just a matter of that gives me time on Thursday to set up, test everything, make sure it works correctly before I have to start running it on the next day.
Sure.
Okay, now do you have room in the car to buy stuff and bring stuff back home?
Probably not.
Oh man, now see
The
that's
layout
my
takes up pretty
strategic
much the
plan for
majority
next
of it.
weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Well, I mean it.
that's my first plan when I get stuff loaded up in the car. I'm like, okay, how much room do I have to take stuff back home if I buy stuff?
Yeah, no, it take the layout alone takes up pretty much the majority of the car alone just to haul it up there.
Okay. Wow.
So
All
it's kind
right.
of a downfall, but I'm just there to have fun. To actually, I like to see a kid smile when it comes to a train layout. It just to see that smile, the happiness out of it, the joy. It
Right.
There you go. Yes.
it
Yep.
keeps you going.
Yep. So I had a yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a train show last weekend in Greenville, Ohio. It was a smaller show, but I
Hmm.
took some really reasonable engines, some blue box engines that I just purchased, and I had two different families come up, and it was their sons, and both of the boys purchased their first HO scale engines for me, which was pretty neat. So
That
they kind of picked out the ones they wanted, and they let me know how much money they had to spend, and we made it happen. And the looks on their faces when I'm like, well, let's go test them out, make sure this is the one you want. So we went over and took them on the test track and got them running, and just the way their faces lit up, there, and just they really didn't say anything, but they just kind of shook their heads like, yeah, that's the engine, that's it, that's what we want. So then we
Oh
went
yeah.
back and did our negotiations there at the table, and we wrapped them up and bagged them, and they took their first engines home. So that was a pretty neat experience to sell two kids their first train engines, and they got to take those home. So someday along the line, they're gonna say, "Oh, I remember this guy. He was at this train show, and he sold me my first engine, and it was so cool the way he helped us out." So they both
right.
got the one kid. I'm like, well, you can pick something else out, So I'm like, you can just pick a freight car out anyone you want. You know, I've got like 500 of them on the table. So he picked out my $16 New York Central cylindrical hopper, and I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that one, but yeah, go ahead. You're all right. Go ahead and take that one. And then the other kid, he picked out he wanted a coal car, so he picked out a nice Santa Fe coal car to go with his yellow and blue schemed Santa Fe engine that he took home. So that was a pretty neat feeling to know that I sold somebody their first engines that way. So they
I
were
mean, it
looking
kind of
around and
reminds.
they're like, yeah, they were looking around and they said, well, this guy over here, he's got them, but he wants like $45. I'm like, how about we do this? How about we do two engines for 35? So he got to pick, the one kid picked out two engines. So he was happy because I just, yeah, it was just neat to put a smile on somebody's face and make them happy. So, yep,
Right.
Yeah,
that
I
was that was
mean,
a neat day.
yeah, I mean, we back in Phoenix when I was much younger, we used to have train shows where train labs were set up in the Science Center. I think it was the Civic Center, downtown Phoenix, anyways. But my best enjoyment, not just buying the trains, but seeing the layouts operating, made a real good thrill and enjoyment for me
Oh
because
yeah,
I love seeing all the displays. I think there was one layout where they had a whole out circus theme on it, and it just kind of
okay,
made me smile and just enjoy.
yeah, yep. Yep. Just imagine a toy train brings somebody joy. Is that
Mm.
not the most weird thing in the world?
Yeah,
Yep.
And the second part about it being weird is it's bringing joy to guys in their 40s and 50s. How about that?
it does.
The
Right.
guys in my club that are in their 70s, we still get, after 35 years, I still get joy
Well,
seeing
from
a train run around a layout, which is really, really, that speaks a lot.
Mhm.
I think uh, based on the relationships you've built, that I've built over, 35 years, that's part of it. Like you said, friendships and stuff.
oh
We're
yeah, for me
almost,
being 33, I mean,
yeah,
at a younger age too, compared to both of you guys, I mean, it's still that fire has never left. It
yeah,
still gets a good
yeah,
enjoyment out of it. Just even seeing the
yeah,
trains run, still a good enjoyment,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Just like,
camaraderie.
yeah, just like you said, you lost your brother. So, I mean, uh, 30 years down the road when some of these guys are no longer here, I'm going to have those memories that I spent with my buddies
Oh
that
yeah,
are, long gone, because there's plenty of guys at the club that have passed away that I've shared a lot of memories with. We still sit up there and talk about them on a Friday night. Like, hey, you remember Fred? We used to go do this at his house, and
yeah.
different guys, which are really neat. So no matter that
What it
person's here or
is.
not anymore, you still have those memories, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's kind of what's neat about the hobby. You make these friendships, and they're lifelong. And
they are.
you'll always have memories about stuff. And it's neat that
Yeah.
we're able to share uh, these experiences over trains, which is really cool. So,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
yep, yep.
Well, there you are, folks. Episode 104 with our guests Scott from Scott's Trains and Benjamin from KCS Baxter Springs Lawton Branch. Benjamin Trains on YouTube. So if you want to reach out to Scott, hit him up at scottlove57 at gmail.com. Let him know that we sent you here from Model Railroad Talk, and look up Benjamin on YouTube at Benjamin Trains. He's got some good stuff over there. He's like the rest of us in this podcast, working on stuff to make his channel better. If you've been listening since the very inception of this podcast, all the way to those that maybe just recently started listening and you're trying to get all caught up, I want to thank everybody for the support, for the listening to this podcast, and it's been great. We with this episode, like we've stated, we have hit the 2-year mark, and I honestly don't know that I can tell you or would have been able to tell you that I would have made it this far before, but with the listener input and support and premium supporters, all that good stuff, um, it's helped me along, and I'm excited for the future of this podcast. I also want a special thank you to Broadway Limited. Check them out. www.broadway-limited.com for supporting this podcast. And don't forget, they have graciously given us a gift certificate to give away, which we will be doing. Actually, when you're listening to this podcast, this comes out on the April 26th is when this when this comes out, and midnight tonight or I should say 11:59 p.m. will be the drawing line for no more entries after that. So get your entries in the link below, or you can go to our website, www.modelrailroadtalk.com, and we have a link at the top that says giveaway, and it takes you to our form. One entry per person, unless you want to be a premium supporter and you sign up and get through the 7-day free trial. We will automatically give you a second entry by being a premium supporter, or head on over to buy me a coffee /MODRAILTOK and show some support our way, and that will also get you a second entry. There is no purchase required to enter. Like I said, one entry per person. Anybody is able to enter, and we put you in. So yeah, on a few final notes, it's been official for a while now, but I guess I want to remind you that we will be at our first train show for Model Railroad Talk, have our first display. I'm excited about it, as I've always been on the aisle side where you're purchasing things walking around. I've really never been on the back side. Yeah, I was at a few months ago. I was over helping Eric at the Lincoln area train show, but that was kind of a different situation. He was there with his club, and I was more or less there to support him if anybody had any questions about 3D printing and the stuff that I did on his locomotive for him. This will actually be us, Model Railroad Talk, with our own booth. We've been in preparations. We're continually in preparations for that. We will be at the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club's 5th annual train show, sponsored by scalesigns.com. And that will be Sunday, October 19th, 2025. Let's see here. It's going to be it's in Iowa City. It's actually at the Johnson County Fairgrounds, 4261 Oak Crest Hill Road, Southeast, Iowa City, Iowa, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be there. We'll have our own booth. We'll have stickers on hand. If you're interested in supporting or showing your support, we'll be able to, we'll have a small amount, a few different, we'll have a few different sizes of our podcast t-shirts, plus a few of each size, that if you're interested in purchasing one and you're going to be in the area, swing by and purchase one, stop by and say hi. I will be displaying my Casey's. I'm hoping to have it, if not 100% done, which is with all the planning and everything going on with the podcast and me building the railroad, I'm hoping to have it close to being done. I'm going to have that there on display, and I'll probably have a few locomotives and at least one of my locomotives that I'm super detailing. It's just an Athearn Blue Box, so stop by and check that out. I'll probably also have a few cars there from my cars, but that Allen's N Scale World has weathered for me to show those off, so you can kind of see what they're doing. And who knows? But if you're going to be in the area, like I said, it's Sunday, October 19th, 2025 in Iowa City, Iowa. It's at the Johnson County Fairgrounds, 4261 Oak Crest Hill Road, Southeast, Iowa City, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Check us out, or check it out. Stop in and see us. I'm actually trying to get Alan from Alan's N Scale World over there to see if it's not too far out of his reach as far as distance from where he's at. I think that'd be great for him as well. We're also the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club, as you heard in the ad. They also have asked us to go out during the Johnson County Fair, basically at the opening of it. And as long as my work schedule allows and I can get everything lined up, I am planning on heading out there. I want to say it's July 19th, July 18th, something like that. But anyways, gonna go out there and probably do a few interviews and video for our YouTube channel, so check that out. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody who up to this point hitting this 2-year mark. As you can tell, I'm excited, and I thank you for all the support, constructive criticism, the emails, all that good stuff. So, um, I don't think I've forgot anything. I went down my list, and once again, I want to thank Scott and Benjamin for both of them being back on here and help me kind of do a little bit different episode. It was just kind of a back and forth, and I let them kind of interrogate me a little bit since I always do that to our guests. But um, we're going to continue on as best we can, bringing guests on. So if you know anybody that would like to come on to the show, and talk model railroad, by all means, any small businesses that maybe listen to this, even if you don't think you're, up with the big boys, who cares? This is all about us little guys, us everyday people that love model railroading, and reach out to us. We do have some sponsorship. You can sponsor an episode, or you can full out advertise on this podcast. If you have a business or what have you, and you're interested in that, reach out to us, modelrailroadtalk@gmail.com. If you just want to reach out and say hi, email us, same email address. Visit our new and improved whatever um, website, www.modelrailroadtalk.com. Head on over to our YouTube page. Give us a like and subscribe over there. We're getting close to hitting the right amount. The number target that I wanted was 1,000. And yes, every time we hit these targets, I'm going to want more. Hey, let's get it up there. So if you're enjoying this podcast, and both in audio and on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Share the heck out of it. So yeah, if you feel like being a premium supporter, head on over to patreon.com/model railroad talk. Check out, we have a few different plans over there that you can show your support, and plus you get a few added benefits with them. As we always say, like normal, unfortunately, these have to come to an end, but remember, folks, keep your train on the tracks.